My name is Austin Dressman, and I am the Community and Events Manager here at Engaging Networks. And we're very excited to be joined by Camille Teasdale, who is our Principal Solutions Architect, and John Sabatowski, who is our Enterprise Solutions Architect here at Engaging Networks, as they walk us through segments and just going through the product itself, some slides here, but also the product itself and any Q&A that you might have as well towards the end of their remarks. Without further ado, I will hand things off to John and Camille. John and Camille.
Great. Well, thanks, Austin. So, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves because a little bit more background as to who we are and what our role is in Engaging Networks. So, Camille, please go.
Hi everyone, I'm Camille. I'm based in London in the UK. I've been at Engaging Networks nearly 8 years, starting off on the tech support team before moving over to sales. Got lots of experience with lots of our clients and the different ways that they use our tool.
And I'm John Smitowski. I've been with Engaging Networks just over 10 years now. I came from different roles in nonprofit organizations and fundraising and communications. So yeah, segmentation is something that I've always been interested in. And I love these tools that we added now 2 years ago into the platform, the new segment tools. And as they continue to evolve and get further hooks inside the product. So what we're going to talk about today is a ton of things. So there's a lot of bullet points in this slide. Apologies for that, but we're going to cover a lot of ground. So Camille's going to lead us through the fundamentals of segments to simplify your audience creation, to replace your use of queries and of profiles in the platform. So she's going to show you how to build some dynamic audiences using lots of the filters and the logic available. You're going to see an extensive set of filters in the profiles. We're going to preview the predefined segments because these are a huge time saver. We've done the work for you already, and we're going to show you how you can modify those predefined segments to say, for example, for the major donor segment, your definition of major donor. What's that fundraising amount over what period of time? We're going to show you then how to use these both in the email reporting and automation. We're not going to go in and build reports or messages, but to show you where those interfaces are in a product. And dive a little deeper on some of these use cases, like particularly leveraging your CRM's data with what we call external CRM segments, or simply CRM segments that link, say, between your Razor's Edge or Salesforce instance, being able to push that data, those query results or membership over into Engaging Networks to work as a mailing flag. And then a thing that I love to show off in the segments tool and when I'm doing product demos for new clients is how to use the survey tools to create segments so you can automatically add your survey respondents into, say, marketing automation journey. So if somebody answers your surveys in particular ways, get them into some messaging streams. We're also going to take a peek at your account data structure. Make sure you're thinking about things inside your account data structure that can help improve your segmentation. What data do you have in Engaging Networks? What data should come over from your CRM? I'll talk through some strategy points about how to convert from profiles and from Query Builder over to segments. And then finally, we'll end with a whole list of resources for you to help you get the most out of segments. So why would you use segments? Well, there's a lot of advantages over Query Builder and profiles. It's a foundational layer across the platform. It is got hooks into all the parts of the product. And we've got Marta joining from our product team, so she'll give us some further insight as to where we're going with some of these things as well. There are far more granular data categories and filters in segments than there are in the older tools. Now, the Query Builder and Profiles, there's not yet a sunset date for those, so don't be panicking just yet. That's why we're doing this webinar, is to help you find some of those paths to convert to segments. So when we eventually remove Query Builder and Profiles from the platform, again, no sunset date yet, but we just want to give you that long runway to do these sorts of things. Big thing here is it's a single tool across broadcasts, marketing automation, and reports, not like profiles. If you're familiar with profiles, you know you have profiles for conditional content in messaging, but then you have a separate set of profiles for use in marketing automation, which becomes very confusing and duplicative in some cases. And having a singular tool across the platform just makes life that much easier. You can also nest segments within other segments. So basically using a segment as a select statement. So, if you're into structured query language or SQL, you'll understand that concept of using selects within there. So you don't have to create the entirety of a segment within itself. You can pull in other segments into other segments. So it makes it really handy to join things together. Camille again will go over predefined segments where we've done the work for you. She'll show you the visual and traditional builders where you got a preference as to what your learning style is. We'll show you how to directly export from the segments builder. So without further ado, let's let Camille get in there and show you all about segments.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so I have in the Engaging Networks platform, and let me just zoom in a little bit as well, just so you can read better. I've navigated to segments under data and reports, but as John has mentioned, segments will crop up across the platform and allow you to ad hoc create segments as you need. So we have segments in use in broadcast emails, in automated emails, and in reporting. I'm in the My Segments section where you can create your own custom segments, but I'm first going to just quickly show you our predefined segments. And our predefined segments are ones that our product team have built for you out of the box. And these are considered industry standard segmentation that we think everyone would benefit from. So things like being able to identify your active advocacy supporters saves you having to go in and create that yourself because it's something that everyone needs. So we've just popped that in there for you. When you click on the edit button there is an option to start to redefine what you consider to be an active advocacy supporter. So we consider the default to be active within the last 12 months, but you might want to update that to something longer or something shorter, depending on how you define your audience as an active advocacy supporter. And that's also things not just advocacy, but fundraising as well. And then we've also got things like email engagement, subscribers who haven't opened an email in a while. So you can come in here and start to customize these predefined segments. I'll show you the other page as well. So we've got here as well the opportunity for you to set the definition of what you would consider a low level, mid-level, and major donor. And that immediately allows you to start categorizing your supporters by their donation amounts or their relative generosity. And then that way you can start segmenting your emails using language specifically for these types of people immediately, all under one email broadcast using our conditional content. So if you wanted to send a specific email to your mid-level donors who have donated between 50 or 100 euros or pounds or dollars during the last 12 months, you can add that straight away. And these will refresh at the moment of the send. So at the moment, you can see an automatic count. John and I use this demo account, so it's only got a few records in there, but you'll be able to see a count of the segments when they're refreshed. So if we go into my segments, and I've pre-built something showing off the survey response filter that John was talking about before. But I'm going to show you our visual builder versus our traditional builder. So the visual builder allows you to start dragging in circles for an include filter, and they'll change to octagons for an exclude, and I'll show you that. But we also have a traditional builder as well for people who are thinking, oh no, I don't like the look of that at all. We do also have it just written out in plain English. And it is interactive in the way that you just drag and drop in your filters and overlap them to create an and, or drag them apart to create an or. This also allows you to flip them from include to exclude and to set the sub-filters of the filter. So you can adjust your parameters. So for example, in this survey sample, I've got one question in my survey: what is your preferred animal? And I can adjust that to say something else. And then when we hit save, and then you can get the count. Is that telling me something? Sorry, whenever I share my screen, it always goes a little bit slow. Sorry about that. Ooh, John, I might need you to take over. For some reason, my browser has stopped responding. Are you able to still hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. I hear you just fine. And yeah,
Okay, some bits are responding. This always happens whenever I'm sharing my screen on Zoom. Sorry about that. Do you want to try and take over?
sure.
Bits are responding, but other bits are not. Okay, let me try deleting this. Include, save. Okay, no, we're back. I think I just overloaded it whilst sharing my screen. Sorry about that. But yes, so we have a get count button here so that you can process your segment and view how many people belong in that segment, and an export button to get a list of their user data. So let me go back to the visual and show you what that looks like when you drag in another filter in the visual. So we categorize data by their personal data, and obviously this will be whatever your data structure is, location data, and then other data. So you can create as many custom fields as you need, and then query on them as you need. So let's add here where city is London, since I am here. So the include overlaps like a Venn diagram. You pull it apart and that becomes an or statement, or you pull them together and that's an and statement. But if I wanted to exclude people who are in London, it turns into a little octagon like that. So for visual people, this works really, really well for them to be able to sort of imagine in their head what kind of segment they want. But for some people, the traditional builder is preferable. So you might have noticed over here the list of filters. You can nest segments within segments. So if you know, let's say we've got this one here for Salesforce campaign members, we can select that and include that in there, and start to either drag that as part of the and or have it as a separate or. And the same with predefined segments as well. You're able to filter as well by record created date, so searching for your newest or oldest supporters, by opt-in status. So all of your opt-in questions will be in here, and you can select whether they have answered yes or no, and during a specific date. So that's really helpful for data hygiene. If someone hasn't opted in for several years and they are inactive, you may want to just purge them from your account. Other question responses as well. So all of your custom questions will be in there. You can just drag them in. We've got geolocation as well, for searching for within a specific distance. And then we've also got one for supporters who are suppressed from receiving email. So that might help you with, again, your list hygiene. Our fundraising filters cover pretty much everything you would ever need to drill down to the information about your fundraising supporters. So amount processed allows you to select a range of an amount. You're able to choose your currency, whether it's a single or recurring gift. And then we also list all the page types under fundraising. So if you wanted to do all of your sort of donation pages, you can, but we've also obviously got peer-to-peer and events and membership as well. And you can set a date range as well. So all of these filters will offer you useful sub-filters in that kind of way. And we've also added cart abandonment recently. So you can also search for supporters who have nearly donated but abandoned. And that's super helpful for then sending an email campaign after the autoresponder, just to kind of, whilst they're in a generous mood, to prompt them to complete that. For advocacy, we have, of course, our email to target, petition, page filters. So you can go in and specifically choose your email to targets or petitions, filter by activity, tracking parameter, appeal code. So if you're running a specific appeal, especially around, say, elections, you can quickly segment by participation in those sorts of advocacy activities. And then also just an activity count. Now, if you're thinking, oh, how am I ever going to remember all of these different filter uses? You might have noticed we've got a little help button here, and that will just pull out some tooltips here so that you can understand how this filter is specifically working, or of course, check on our support documentation site where you can see the definitions as well, because obviously there's quite a lot. Engagement pages, so those will be data captures, surveys, things like that. Obviously, survey response querying is super, super powerful because it allows you to collect really, really granular data on your supporters and then build up segments based on their responses. So if you're asking them why they are participating or asking them what brought them here, you can start to segment them based on that. And that allows you to send super personalized content in your email campaigns. So for example, this dummy one that I sent out to my colleagues, I asked them what their preferred animal is. And then based on their responses, I can then send them an email that will have a lovely picture of a white rhino. And that's more likely to make them engage because it's their favorite animal. So really, really simple but powerful usage there. For page detail, obviously tracking parameters can be queried on. So that'll help you identify where people have come from, where they've participated from, and that might inform why. And then you can lead on with further responses, or it can help inform your reporting. So if you need to run a report on specific tracking channels, you can segment your transactions based on tracking parameter. Similarly for attributes as well, attributes can be applied to pages and to emails, and anyone that engages with those pages or those emails will have that attribute available for you to query on. Then for marketing tools, obviously there's a lot there. So you can search by broadcast message. So choosing what kind of engagement and which emails specifically. So you can come in and start to cherry pick which emails to query on. Automated messages as well. Automation status. So if people have completed a welcome journey, you can query that, or if they've jumped off of it, or if they're currently active on it as well. Again, this will be really helpful for your reporting in order to see how your welcome journeys are performing and the behaviors of people whilst they're on there. Email activity, so open clicks and conversions during a specific period of time. And that will be helpful for things like end of year giving and things like that. Email engagement. So this is a big wall of text, but basically Engaging Networks will categorize your supporters automatically by calculating a score. And obviously, the more people engage, the better their score will be. And that helps you to identify people who haven't engaged much and be able to then either data hygiene again, or to be able to send them more targeted content to try and get them to re-engage. And then other things as well. SMS activity, we integrate with Twilio. So if you're running an SMS campaign, you can query on that. Similarly with SMS keywords, you can report on how these keywords are performing with your supporters. Then we've got an area for events. So you can query on event registrations, ticket purchases, and if anyone's made additional donations. Again, you've got lots of sub-filters here for you to be able to drill down onto how people are performing, how people are participating in your events. And then the acquisition area is super powerful. Origin source and origin source category, obviously, really, really good for your reporting, to be able to see which sources are, providing you with a stream of new supporters. And CRM segment, which John mentioned before. So CRM segments can be created from your CRM. So if you prefer to do your segmentation in your CRM, like Salesforce, you can do that and then just import a segment, give it a custom name, and immediately apply it to your segments in Engaging Networks without having to rebuild everything with the filters that we provide. And then it's ready to go in your emails. Similarly as well with Facebook lead forms, you can start to query on people who are coming in through those lead forms on Facebook. Then we've got a whole area for peer-to-peer. So peer-to-peer fundraisers, the information about them, sub-filters to identify which site they're from, what role they play, whether they're active or not, appeal code, everything like that. The donors who are donating to your fundraisers, the amount that's raised, how far along in the goal they are. So if they've hit, 50% of the way, you can send them an email or you can report on that. And then also for incentives. So if you're sending out your fundraisers, things like stickers or a badge or a hat with a logo on it or whatever it is that you want to do to incentivize them to fundraise, you can then, of course, run a report on those incentives nice and quickly and easily. I've been saying a lot about running reports. All of your reports can be automatically sent to your inbox on a weekly or monthly basis. So once you've built your segments and you've built a report, all of this data can be simplified and sent to you automatically on a rolling basis. And you can create as many as you need. So, have I missed anything out? I think that's pretty much.
That was extremely thorough, Camille. I think you
Yeah.
good category.
Yeah. Have we had any questions? Otherwise, I'll pass back to you.
Between Marcy and I, we've handled the questions that were in the chat, although one just come up. For CRM segments, do all the users need to have profiles in EN setup? Yes, they would have to have a supporter record in Engaging Networks in order for us to email them. So yes, they must exist in Engaging Networks. So pushing over that CRM segment, that's going to vary based on what CRM is. With Salesforce, you assign people as campaign members. In Razor's Edge, it's query results, and then through the integration tools, it varies as to whether that's a couple of clicks to push things over, but that it is leveraging the power of your CRM for this. Now, you could use that as is, just use that external CRM segment as is, or you can embellish with some more of these filters that Camille showed you to then refine that query a little bit more, including perhaps your opt-ins as well. I know there's some clients who like to bring opt-ins into their CRM. I don't know that that's necessary because they're really only actionable within Engaging Networks. So maybe that's a place where you mix the two together. Camille, can you just maybe pop into, there's a question here about export options. So I know there's a button right up there at the top. So if you want to say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the export CSV here will give you the basic information like their name, their title, their address, and their email address. So essentially just a list of people who fit this segment. If you wanted to then receive the transactional data associated with the segment, so for example, if I wanted to get a list of survey respondents and what their answer to that survey was as well, rather than just their name, you would come into the data and reports to build essentially a report, and the report will include the transactional data. I will very, very quickly show you the options. So you can, as I say, you can just do the supported data. You can go from the page data or the transaction data. So in this case, if I wanted to get survey respondents, I would go with the transaction data report. And then we've got a separate one as well for messages and message links. So there's a lot in here. But once you've built it, it automates and you can get it sent to yourself or to your colleagues, or you can download it straight from the report area. So hopefully nice and simple, but super customizable.
And we've got one more question. It's question is, how can I insert segments into the email classic broadcast in the audience selection? And my understanding is that is not, segments are not available in email classic, nor are they intended to be. They are available, however, in the marketing tools and newer marketing tools. This might be another reason to convert over to marketing tools if you want to make use of segments.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the difference between transaction and page data in the
Yes. Yes. So The transaction data will be all those little details that are included in a supporter's transaction. For example, survey question answers, for example, opt-in status, all of those sorts of little data points that get collected. The page data will be information about that specific page and its performance. So, total number of donations, total amount raised, things like that. So it's two different levels of information that we've kept separate just to allow you to specify what it is that you want to export.
Yeah, so it's a kind of summary versus detail. And the detail that comes out in Report Builder for transactions, you get to customize that, unlike in Query Builder, where it just comes out in our transaction format in that 35 column set. You get to pick and choose which columns and in which orders. So that's another nod towards maybe converting to marketing tools as well as converting to using the newer reporting tools as well, because it give you that much more flexibility. Well, we've got, it looks like the last question we had come up. So let's head back in. I'm going to head back into our slide deck and kind of talk about some of the strategy behind some of these things. And if I can hit the share button, replace current share. Cool. Yeah, cool. So Camille, thank you so much for that. Well, that was such great detail and such great color commentary on all those points. So let me just resume the slideshow here. So, if you're interested in converting from to segments from your use of Query Builder and profiles inside the platform, like anything, plan your work your plan. So the first step, I think, is to really inventory all those profiles and queries. Particularly on the profile side, we're using profiles for broadcast messaging, we're using the other ones for marketing automation, and then where maybe pick one of those as a starting point. Maybe start it for broadcast, maybe start it for marketing automation. So that might be a good thought. When you look at your particularly profiles, you can see what the last update is, because you can actually manually update those as well. So that might be a tip off of, hey, maybe we don't need this profile. It hasn't been updated in over a year. So you don't necessarily. It's the same thing if you're converting from one system to another. You have a lot of pages. Maybe you don't need to bring everything over. So same is true with your profiles and queries. Look at where you're currently using them. Again, might pick a starting point here of one or two or all three of the categories where you can use segments. And when should you convert? Well, that summer lull that you might be experiencing right now, or is there a summer lull? I'm not sure if that's true in your organization, but it is for a lot of organizations, and with a lot more donors, taking holiday over the summer. But definitely want to do this before year end. So maybe this becomes part of that year-end strategy conversation that you're having for your year-end campaigns that you're starting now, which you're going to probably put a plan together going into September and start to execute that going into October. Maybe this is the right time to consider moving over to segments. And some of those key questions you might want to think about: how can you improve your segments by nesting segments within segments? So using that ability to use segments as selects rather than creating a long, complex query builder stuff. This might be a huge time saver and get to reuse some segments within other segments. So it might actually reduce the amount of work, reduce the amount of overhead here for you. Big thing is, will the predefined segments work for you? So use those because we've already built them for you, taking a lot of that hard work out of the way. Just refine them with your data points, such as what constitutes a major donor in your organization. And the other bigger question of all is who will do this work? You might want to consider augmenting your staff with some of the help of our accredited partners, because they're all experts in our tools as well. And certainly we're going to show you some resources here in a second here, but accredited partners might help you with some of that strategy as to what to convert and what not to convert. And they're a great force multiplier for your team. So what are some of the resources to help you learn more about this? We'll show these in a second. Just want to cover them in a slide. but the Engaging Networks Academy has a whole lesson on segments. So it goes in detail with that lesson. The supportal, there are a ton of articles in the supportal, lots of video in there as well to help you understand this. The Engaging Networks community, if you haven't yet found the Engaging Networks community, you should, because there's lots of peer learning available there and lots of other resources. And then certainly another plug for the Engaging Networks Community Conference in DC, actually across the river from DC in Arlington. That'll be on October 14th and 15th. I'll be there, and most of our client success team will be there as well. We typically have a booth set up for client questions to help you through any use cases, and certainly with all of us there, great opportunity to come pose these questions to us. So before we hit the thank you, I just want to preview some of those resources. So first up is that lesson in the Engaging Networks Academy. So right here, it's in the data and reporting section. So it's a full 16-minute lesson on how to deploy segments. Within the supportal, again, there are a ton of, I just keyword search for segments, and I find several different items in here. I'm going to say something about AI-defined segments in a second, because we haven't covered that yet. And then community discussions. This is our community site where there's people might ask questions, or we might get some help from peers. And finally, ENCC DC coming up again on October 14th and 15th, and Austin had the links for that. I promised to say something about AI-defined segments. So with AI-defined segments, this is kind of being reworked at the moment, because with our whole approach to AI, we are working on several things across the platform to bring AI in places, but with the opportunity for clients to certainly opt out of any AI use, because I know we have clients who are focused on environmental issues, and building more data centers is not a good thing for the environment when you're using resources to do that, and also power consumption as well. But this was really based on our learnings from Accessible Intelligence, but with the strides that have happened just in the AI world, this gives us an opportunity to kind of rethink how we're approaching AI-defined segments. So there's more to come on AI-defined segments moving forward. Just two last questions. And we're going to talk about the account data structure. So it's going to bring up a different browser here. So in your account data structure, you get to create there's about 70 or so tagged supporter fields, meaning the standard ones, things like first name, last name, email, they have a little tag. The tag with the plus sign is a untagged supporter field, or AKA custom supporter field. You can have up to 300 custom fields. So think about what your account data structure looks like. I've got a ton of fields in here. I think I've used up all the tagged ones already, and then gone into some of the untagged ones. There's transactional fields in here as well. So have a look at, do you have all the data that you really want in your Engaging Networks account? When you compare that to what's in your CRM, yes, your CRM is your source of truth. Engaging Networks is your source of action. So if you want to be able to action any of that rich data, you're probably going to want a landing point in there. So consider adding some additional fields into your Engaging Networks account. And particularly, this is an easy process to bring this data in, particularly if you're using our Salesforce connector. Every 20 minutes, we're going to automatically sync that data. Any updates from a field in Salesforce is going to automatically sync over Engaging Networks. That includes custom objects in your Salesforce instance as well, any of those custom fields. So consider pushing more data in Engaging Networks to leverage all these great filters that we have. If there's no data behind there, can't do much with segments. So that's my plug for evaluating your account data structure. There's a great question from Ted in the Q&A. For folks with lots of profiles, has anyone built a magic tool or report that spits out on existing profiles? Ted, I don't know that anyone's done that, but there are some of our partners who have done a lot with building some tools around Engaging Networks. So I can connect you with somebody who might have some insight into that. So that is our presentation for today. Thank you all so much for attending. Again, this session has been recorded, so you'll be able to share it with any of your colleagues who weren't able to attend. And I would be remiss if I did not put in yet another plug for attending the Engaging Networks Community Conference in Washington, D.C. on October 14th and 15th. And if you have further questions for us, please do reach out either to client support or to your account success manager. And we look forward to you using segments inside your Engaging Networks account. Camille, any final words?
No, just yeah. If you've got any last questions, get them in now before we wrap up.
Yeah. So the question is about latitude and longitude. So with the radius search that Camille showed, that does require that you append latitude and longitude data to your Engaging Networks supporter records. There we can provide you with some info. I think might be some info in the supportal about that, but that is not a data service that Engaging Networks provides. But there are external providers who can append that. Oftentimes, clients using Salesforce might have that data in their Salesforce account, and then that could be pushed back. There are now endpoints in our API to push those data points in. So thanks to the product team for identifying that and getting that in. I think about 2 or 3 releases ago that made its way into the APIs.
Chiming in really quick. I guess we got one more question that came in, but our one of our senior product manager, Marta, has mentioned also that that there's going to be some new stuff coming out for segments. So just be on the lookout for that as well in future releases. But I think we got one more question there.
Yeah, tags for specific audiences such as members of a particular community or curated lists of individuals invited to an event. So, what I think about Razor's Edge and all those constituent codes and constituencies and other attributes that are available in there, those can all be linked to supporter fields. So if somebody, say, is a major donor prospect, you've got that as a tag or an attribute in your CRM that can be linked to a supporter field in Engaging Networks. So that way you're representing that rich data from your CRM into Engaging Networks. There's also attributes. Attributes are tags about the supporter. Attributes are available in certain page types, like our advocacy page types. So if somebody takes action on a page involving a particular issue, that attribute will get written to their record, and that is part of the attributes are available for selection in the segments tools as well. And so that might be another way to consider bringing some of that data in. So whether as a supporter field or as a supporter attribute, those can be brought in. So again, bringing more of that data in, consider what you have in your CRM and how you might want to leverage that in Engaging Networks. And that was the final question. Thanks everyone for attending. Again, if you have further questions, please do reach out.
Thanks, everyone.